Hi and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Following news headlines have been reported by world major English news channels and news agencies. So please watch it.
It's cold, it's breezy at times, and overnight you have wet weather, but that won't be the case.
Tonight, breaking news, just hours left. Millions of federal workers told by Elon Musk to list what they've accomplished in the last week by midnight tonight or risk getting fired. And President Trump today suggesting what happens if you don't respond. Also tonight, the frightening moments on a Delta flight filling with smoke, passengers horrified. And tonight here, remembering Roberta Flack. First tonight, millions of government workers facing that midnight deadline to respond to Elon Musk's government-wide email. Employees told to list 5 accomplishments or risk losing their jobs. Tonight, confusion over whether this is mandatory, but President Trump today suggesting what happens if you do not respond. Also tonight, the images coming in here, the Delta flight, smoke filling the cabin, passengers using slides to escape. Tonight, the future of Ukraine and the high-stakes meeting at the White House. President Trump side by side with French President Emmanuel Macron. Macron's warning that peace must not mean a surrender of Ukraine. And our Ian panel with President Zelensky.
Would you be willing to give up the presidency if it meant peace for Ukraine?
Zelensky's answer making news tonight. This evening, the new message of caution from the Vatican on Pope Francis, what they're now saying as cardinals and the faithful gather in St. Peter's Square. Back in the U.S., police say the man opening fire inside a hospital, shooting a doctor, a nurse, a custodian, and then shooting several officers when they arrived. Authorities say killing one of them. Tonight here, word now on a motive. The price of eggs soaring tonight, and now Denny's, the newest restaurant, saying they will charge extra for meals with eggs. A new strain of coronavirus discovered in China. What the CDC is now saying about this tonight. And she was the soundtrack to the 70s. Tonight here, tributes to a legend, Roberta Flack.
Killing me softly with this song, killing me softly.
Her poetic grace as a singer and flawless style at the piano.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World.
Well, let's bring in, we want to go back to Rick Grinnell, who was going to be with us a little bit earlier, coming out of the president and Emmanuel Macron's comments. He is the special envoy for special missions. Rick, great to have you with us. One of the things that really stood out when we listened to President Macron and President Trump was this issue of a security guarantee for Ukraine as part of this deal. And it sounds like Europe is willing to provide some security guarantees, but Macron said it can't be like Minsk, the other 2 deals that ended up not providing that for Ukraine, and Russia rolled right over them. What do you think the United States' involvement in something like that would be? What did you glean from those conversations?
Well, Martha, you know me as a diplomat, not as somebody who's going to give you just the military angle. And I would really push people to think about security guarantees as not just from the Pentagon. There are other ways to make sure that there are some sort of guarantees that there's not going to be a war breaking out, military action. And I think that private equity folks on the ground and having economic development is one of the best ways to ensure that you're not going to have a war breakout. So I think that we've just got to think differently about what it means for a security guarantee. You're exactly right, though. Minsk and Minsk II, which Obama and Merkel put together, were really problematic. I think most people would agree that the Russians weren't really that serious about signing it. It fell apart pretty quickly. But remember, that was in 2014. And what did we do in September of 2014? We came together at the Wales NATO summit and we said, look, Russia has invaded into Crimea. Europe wasn't ready. So we need to make sure Europe is ready, and Europe has some sort of a security guarantee or some sort of a credible threat so that it deters any action from the Russians. And in 2014, that Wales pledge said, start paying up, start paying your 2%. And it was the Germans who raised their hand and said, well, we can pay our 2%, but it's going to be really difficult, so we need 10 years to do it. So in 2014, we gave NATO 10 years till 2024 to make sure that they could have a deterrent in a healthy military in Europe, throughout Europe, through NATO members, and they didn't do it. And we saw the Russians.
Tonight, the mass blast email and midnight deadline that has left federal workers in limbo. Elon Musk posting an ultimatum for workers to justify their existence or resign. The email calling for 5 bullet points explaining what they accomplished last week. The growing power struggle as some top Trump cabinet secretaries tell their staff not to respond. Now DOGE is poised to use AI to evaluate the responses they get. And federal workers furious. The flag hung upside down in Yosemite Park. The haze-filled cabin of a Delta flight forced to return to the busiest airport in the world. What happened and why they had to deploy the slides from the jet. The Pope in critical condition, as the Vatican says he shows positive signs of improvement. 3 blood-soaked years of war in Ukraine, alarm bells ringing in Europe as President Trump angles for a deal, including Ukraine's minerals to end the war. Catching fire, can the music festival synonymous with chaos make a comeback? Our questions for the founder about the upcoming sequel. Why millions of women at high risk for breast cancer are increasingly having to fight their insurance to get screenings their doctors say they need.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester.
Good evening and welcome.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois.
And I'm John Dickerson. Elon Musk ordered federal employees who have been working from home to report to the office this week.
And ordered them to explain why they should have a job next week.
By giving him examples of what they accomplished last week. He demanded 5 examples by midnight tonight.
President Trump, whose accomplishments last week included firing federal employees, voiced support for Musk today. He claimed a lot of workers are not responding to Musk because, as the president put it, they don't exist.
But neither does any evidence of that claim. Many workers are not responding because their bosses told them they don't need to. Employees who work for the state, defense, justice, and homeland security departments.
Education, commerce, and transportation, on the other hand, told employees to respond. So there's a split in the administration, and Ed O'Keefe is at the White House tonight to try to sort this all out for us. Ed?
Hey guys, the Trump administration now telling agencies they can in fact ignore what Musk said entirely, adding even more confusion into closing hours before a threatened deadline.
The hopes this Monday night that Russia's war on Ukraine is in its final chapter.
We should not want to have a 4th anniversary. This has all become very normalized.
The Western leaders vowing to stand behind Ukraine.
Canada will be there.
And the deals the U.S. president wants to strike with Russia. Germany's new political chapter, the center-right coalition likely to take power, and the far-right cynicism the alliance will succeed. A slight improvement in the Pope's condition, how he is still doing work from his hospital bed. Plus, a soothing and soulful voice silenced.
Killing me softly with this song, killing me softly.
Remembering history-making singer Roberta Flack.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for
Small, mais deuxième. French Connections Plus on France 24 at France24.com.
Good morning, I'm Oliver Farry, and this is Daybreak. Donald Trump welcomes Emmanuel Macron to the Oval Office, where the two leaders laid out their respective visions for Ukraine. Each agrees on a lasting peace to end the war, but differences remain on what stance to take on Vladimir Putin. The UN Security Council passes a US-drafted resolution on the 3rd anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine that takes a neutral position on Moscow. European members, including the UK and France, abstain. Meanwhile, the General Assembly passes a resolution supportive of Ukraine. She had one of the biggest hits of the 1970s with Killing Me Softly with his song, and now the world of music says goodbye to Roberta Flack. We'll be taking a look at the life and career of the multiple Grammy winner who has died at the age of 88. And also coming up, a new study suggests the planet Mars once featured sun-soaked sandy beaches with gentle lapping waves from an ancient ocean. Deeply Laurent will be telling us more in the press review. French President Emmanuel Macron was in Washington on Monday, where he met US President Donald Trump for talks about a peace deal for Ukraine. A meeting that each say went in the right direction. The pace has shifted gears since Trump began talks with Vladimir Putin, to find a peace deal for the Ukraine war. Macron handled the US president with kid gloves and said Europe needed to do more to beef up defense spending. James Vicina has more.
An express trip to Washington to try and find a way out of the now 3-year war. As well as speaking face-to-face, US President Donald Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron held online meetings with members of the G7. Meetings that Trump said were beneficial and necessary.
I will say this also, it could lead to World War III if it's not solved. There'll be a point at which it's not basically.
This is Asia Now.
Hello, it's 2 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 11:30 in New Delhi and 1 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Angela Avisa. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol returns to court for the final hearing in his impeachment trial. His lawyers fighting to defend his botched martial law attempt. China and Australia trade barbs over last week's naval exercises in the Tasman Sea. Canberra claims it received no notice of the live fire drills, which forced nearly 50 flights to change course. And the US and France say a truce in Ukraine could come within weeks, but Russia says a deal to end the war is still distant. Good morning. It's 6 o'clock on today's show. French President Emmanuel Macron warns Donald Trump against surrender in Ukraine. Plus, should jailed Cheshire MP Mike Amesbury still get his £91,000 a year salary while he's serving a sentence for assault? We'll ask the Home Secretary. It's Tuesday, the 25th of February. While Donald Trump holds talks on Ukraine, with the French president, the United States splits with Europe and aids with Russia at the United Nations. The Conservatives call for jailed Cheshire MP Mike Amesbury to quit Parliament. Brace yourselves for a new energy price cap, I'm afraid. We'll find out how much bills will rise at 7 o'clock. And in the sport, Leeds scored 2 late goals as they beat Sheffield United to go 5 points clear at the top of the championship. Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to breakfast. Well, French President on ABC TV.
French President Emmanuel Macron meets Donald Trump at the White House in an effort to establish common ground on the war in Ukraine.
Our common objective clearly is to build peace, and a solid and long-standing peace.
The parents plead for answers after a string of preventable child deaths at a major Victorian hospital. Labor to force providers to fix mobile phone black spots if re-elected.
He was thumbing my bed with his fingers.
And the timeless, evocative voice of Roberta Flack remembered once more. The 70s superstar has died. She was 88. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Joe O'Brien. The leaders of the United States and France have held...
The news.
Killings, pillaging and sexual violence. These are just some of the accusations against the M23 rebels, who have been rapidly advancing in the DRC for the past 2 months. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk said that the rebel group had notably killed several children upon entering the city of Kabul in South Korea. On X, Patrick Moyaya, spokesperson of the Congolese government, condemned the situation in the city of Goma, which fell under the control of the M23 rebels in late January.
Egyptian Foreign Minister Badel Abdelati and Sudanese Foreign Minister Ali Youssef El Sharif on Sunday discussed recent development involving Sudan's Parliamentary Rapid Support Forces and their allies who signed a charter to form a parallel government in Sudan. The war in Sudan will end with victory of the Sudanese armed forces and all other participating forces, the popular resistance. When these forces defeat the rapid support militia, there will be an end to the war. Before that, there is no other way to stop the war except surrender. No one will recognize the so-called parallel government to the Sudanese government. This is a confirmed position, and His Excellency the Minister Abdelati also confirmed it. Of course, we in Sudan also do not accept that any country recognizes the so-called parallel government. The RSF signing ceremony took place in Nairobi, Kenya, behind closed doors. We also talked about, and the Minister El Sharif was informed of the Egyptian plan to reconstruction in Gaza, and also informed of what will be discussed during the emergency Arab summit here in Cairo, and the outcome that we are looking forward to with regard to supporting the Palestinian people and stabilizing them on their land. The Sudanese military has regained control of key areas, including Wad Medani, the capital of Jazeera province and the largest oil refinery in the country.
Belgian rider Aldo Teyou took the victory in the prologue that kicked off the 2025 Tour du Rwanda on Sunday, February 23rd. Competing for Lotto DSTNY, the Evo team, Teyou completed the 4.1-kilometer individual time trial course, which began at BK Arena and finished at Amahoro Stadium with a time of 3 minutes, 48 seconds and 91 milliseconds. Teammate Milan Menten secured third place just behind Total Energies' Fabien Duby, who finished second. Very happy because it was only 4 minutes. That did not complicate the game for me. I have a strong team and I am hopeful that we will do great in the days to come. We will see. The 2025 Tour du Rwanda sees the return of former champion Henok Mubarak, who claimed the overall title in 2023. Other returning riders include stage winners Metkel Eyob and Itamar Einhorn of Israel Premier Tech. The race, spanning 8 stages and 812 kilometers, features the longest stage from Rukomo to Kayonza, covering 158 kilometers. We have 69 players and they all did a tremendous job today. We are now looking forward to take the game outside of Kigali with the effect of tomorrow. We are also looking forward to use this opportunity to create a proper infrastructure plan and a roadmap for the UCI World Road Championships. Despite recent tensions in the region, including the M23 rebel group's involvement in the eastern DRC, the race has proceeded without safety concerns. The event has drawn strong participation from both cyclists and fans. This year's edition is especially significant as it serves as a lead-up to the UCI World Road Championships, which will be held in September 2025 in Kigali. Diana Iriza in Kigali, Rwanda, for Africa News.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.